Creating a product listing with variations on Amazon can be one of the most frustrating things you will ever do in life. But this video tutorial should allow you to understand the process and get your product listing up and running. Hey, this is Rochelle and welcome to Multiple Passive Streams of Income. Now let's lay the foundation first. When a seller sells a product on Amazon that comes in different sizes or different colors or maybe even different flavors, different unit sizes like a 1-pack versus a 2-pack versus a 3-pack. These are all examples of variations. So I'm going to demonstrate how to create a t-shirt product listing with variations as an example, but this example can easily be changed to represent any product with variations. So let's just say you're selling seasoning that comes in a 4-ounce bottle or 8-ounce bottle, and maybe it can be bought in 4 different flavors like mild, hot, Cajun, and fat-free, right? These are all examples of different types of variations. But I'm going to show you the t-shirt example, and that should be able to be easily changed for whatever product you are trying to create your product listing for on Amazon. So to start out, we're going to need to always create a parent listing. Now, a parent listing is just a placeholder. And then we'll create child variations. So there'll be separate listings for each child. And then we'll attach them to the parent listing. The t-shirt that I'm selling comes in 4 colors and 6 sizes. So I'm going to need 24 variations, aka child listings, to attach to that parent listing. So to do this, we first need to create a template for the type of product we plan to sell. So in Seller Central, go to your inventory and then add products via upload option on that drop down. If you don't see that option on the inventory drop down, it may be located on your catalog drop down. On the add products via upload page, make sure you are on the download and inventory file tab. You can enter the product type in the search tool and click search. So I'm just going to use t-shirt for an example, but you can enter any type of product that you're selling, right? You can enter teapot, garbage can, salt shaker, etc. Okay. Now by entering t-shirt and clicking search, Amazon gives us examples of category paths, which you can choose to create your template. The other way of doing this is you can click each category and subcategory until you get to that last subcategory. But in my opinion, the first way is easier. Whatever method you choose, just note the category path because you may need that information later. So I selected the first option, and that option shows the results of that selection. So I want to note these values, the item type, keyword, and the department, because you're going to need that information inside the template. If you're selling your product in Canada too, you can check the box for Canada.ca. Then you would select the language. I'm using English, obviously, and we will keep the mode at advanced. Then I'll click generate template. So what did we just do? We allowed Amazon to create a spreadsheet that will list all the attributes for the category of our product. So when we open up the spreadsheet, it will open up on the instructions page, but notice that there's tabs on the bottom. Click on the template tab. Notice the column headers, and as you scroll left to right, the column headers will change colors, and this will help to emphasize the different attribute groups. So let's first add the information for our parent listing. Remember, the parent listing is just a placeholder, and it's only needed so that the child variations can attach to it. So starting with column A, you will enter the info needed for the parent. When you enter info, some of the cells will have drop downs with preset values that will allow you to choose them. And so the first column here, the feed product column, allowed me to choose shirt. Now the seller SKU, you will make up. Use something that's meaningful. So let's say I'm selling I Love New York t-shirt. I would probably name it I Love New York T-parent. So that's going to be apparent what I'm selling. And it's also going to be apparent that that row is the parent listing. This parent seller SKU will be used later, so we want to make a note of that as well. If you are brand registered, you will now enter that into the brand name. If not, just leave it blank. Next is the product name. Now that's the title of your product listing. So for example, I Love New York t-shirt, perfect for tourists and travelers. Remember, you want to always have a keyword-rich title, so you will type that information into the product name field. Now, notice on the template, you'll see red outlined boxes, which means that the information is mandatory. But the product listing is different. Since it's a placeholder, and it's not the actual product for sale, it doesn't have to have the same information as the child variations. As you scroll to the right, you will see more red outline boxes. Scroll right to the variation column, and in the parentage, parent underscore child field, we're going to add parent because that's our parent listing. In the variation theme, we're going to add color-size. And in the basic update delete field, we're going to add update. And that's all that we need for the parent listing. All right. So even though there's some red outline boxes for the parent row, again, the parent listing is different than the child variation, so we're good with just entering those boxes for the parent listing. So now let's add the child variation listings. Now let's go back to column A. We have shirt for the product type feed, and we will create the seller SKUs for each child variation. So for example, I would have something like I Love New York -orange -S for small. I Love New York -blue -3X for 3XT. So that's the naming convention that I'm going to use for each of my child variations. I'm going to do this for all 24 variations, right? 4 colors and 6 sizes. So I have a unique seller SKU for each t-shirt. And the seller SKU tells me exactly what the child variation is. Next, if you're brand registered, add that info for brand name. For your product name, I added the same product name that I created for the parent listing. So all the entries in this column are identical. Remember I said I was going to do I Love New York t-shirt, perfect for tourists and travelers. So that's what I'm going to repeat for the child variations. Now for the external product ID, you will enter a unique UPC code for each child variation, and you will select UPC for the external product ID type. If you are using EAN numbers, then enter a unique EAN number for each child variation, and you'll select EAN for the external product ID type. Now, there may be a case where you may want to enter ASINs, right? So maybe you already have a product and you want to add it as a variation to another parent listing. You already know the ASIN, so you could technically enter a unique ASIN into each of the child variations that you want to add to your parent listing. Now, the item type keyword for this example is novelty-t.shirts. And this actually comes from the template categories when we first created the template. Now, remember, whatever category path that you create, that is going to determine what the item type keyword is. early in the video, I chose a selection that would have identified my item type keyword as fashion-t-shirts. But I'm screen shooting a real template of mine. So the category I selected at that time made my item type keyword to be novelty-t-shirts. So you're going to enter what your template identified as your item type keyword when you first created it. Now, as you scroll right, you're going to enter any info for the red outline boxes for all your child variations. Different info will be required for different types of products. So I needed to enter the outer material type, which is cotton. I entered the department. Remember, I got that information also when I created the template at the beginning. My template here shows unisex adult, but remember you noted the department value from your template example. So that happened to be men's. So again, depending on what my template identified as the department, that's what I'm going to enter in these fields. I'm going to continue to enter all the information for all the columns on the screen. I will explain the main image URL later. But remember, we're adding this information for the child variations only. Now we're going to keep scrolling to the right. We're going to enter the shirt body type, the shirt height type. When we get to the variation columns colored in pink, we need to specify child for the parentage of the child variations. We need to use the parent seller SKU, right? So remember, we made that earlier in the video, and we're going to have to put that in all of the child variation rows. And that is the seller SKU, right, that we made, that we created for the parent row on this template. So for example, I said earlier that I would have named mine's I love you T-parent. So we're going to fill in the rest of the information you see on the screen, which includes the update and delete column. Okay, now we're going to scroll to the right to the color and the color maps column and fill out that info as well. We're going to scroll right to the size map column, enter that information. We're going to scroll right to the list price and enter that information. Now let's talk about the main image URL. And that's the last piece of information that we need to complete the spreadsheet. If you have a website with product images or the product is already on Amazon already, you will go to the image on your site or on Amazon and you'll right click it and then you'll choose copy image address and you'll enter that URL into the appropriate fields for the main image URL column. Now, let's say you don't have a website or the product is not already listed on Amazon. What you will need to do is you'll need to search Google for free image hosting and then upload your main images to that site and add those URLs to your spreadsheet. And I know you're thinking the same thing I'm thinking. Wow, you got to do all of that just to get the images on the spreadsheet. And unfortunately, you do. I mean, Amazon is really moving towards brands, and most brands have websites. So they kind of have forgotten about the smaller seller who doesn't have the website yet, who's probably only selling on Amazon, and you physically have those images on your hard drive and not actually out in the internet. But Amazon doesn't care. That's the information that they're looking for. Okay? Now you're going to save that spreadsheet, and from the Add Products via Upload screen, upload your inventory file tab. You want to upload that file we just created. You can add your email address if you want Amazon to email you when the process completes, and then you'll click Upload File. When the process completes, you will see the results on the Monitor Upload Status tab. You may have to refresh your screen to see the most recent upload. When the process is doing its thing, you can keep refreshing the screen until it completes. When it completes, you're going to click download your process report. This report will show you if the updates are successful, or it's going to show you errors. On the screen is an example of a file that was processed and no errors resulted. To see the info, make sure you are on the Feed Processing Summary tab of the process report. On the Template tab of the process report, there will be 2 added columns, and if there are no errors, you will see success. Now let's take a quick look at the process report with errors, and it can be very confusing trying to resolve these errors. Some of the error codes are simple to understand the fix, but many aren't. So in this example, error 8105 states that the black 2X t-shirt does not have a valid value. You can look on the Data Definition tab for details of what is expected in all the columns of the template. You can also look at the Valid Values tab for the expected inputs of each field on the template. So that error 8105 happened because in the shirt size column, I chose 2X instead of XX large, and that caused the error. Once I changed it and uploaded the new spreadsheet, that error was cleared. Now let's look at the next errors. I could not figure out how to fix them, so I called Seller Central and asked for a variations expert. She advised that I had too many attributes listed on the parent row, so she told me to delete the extra information, and that's what I showed you earlier when we inputted the parent info. Also, we did that and uploaded the changes, and the errors were cleared. Now, creating variations on Amazon can still screw up even when it looks good in Seller Central. As you can see, my backend shows 24 variations. So if I go to the parent listing in Seller Central, you can find that at Inventory, then Manage Inventory, and then you would click on the parent listing product name. That's going to take us to the parent listing. And as you can see, the small, medium, 3X, and 4X are not available to buyers. The large size isn't even listed as a choice, so the variations will often not work completely. The first thing is to wait 24 hours to make sure the changes have the time to fully propagate across the system. When listings have issues like this, you can double check if the back end doesn't match the front end. And what that means is that after 24 hours, that listing may still have issues. So to see this, if you go to your product listing that has the issue in the Manage Inventory page, click the Edit button of the variation that has the issue. Look at the values of the fields. So for example, I'm on the Product Details tab, and if I scroll down, many fields have small writing above the field. That's the back-end value. When your input inside the field, which is the front-end value, matches the small writing above the field, which is the back-end value, that's good. But when they don't match, that can cause the variation to not work. See how the small writing for shirt size value is XX_L, and the value inside the field is 3X-large. This means the back-end value is different from the front-end value, and is probably why the 3X size is not showing as available for sale. Now, this can be tricky because getting the two values to match may take 24 hours when you upload corrections. Sometimes that doesn't work, so the listing has to be deleted, and then you have to wait 24 to 48 hours before adding any corrections. It's very frustrating, and the back ends of brand registered sellers are much harder to correct than sellers that are not brand registered. So it's just a lot to really get these variations to work on Amazon. So I will be calling Seller Central about the variations that didn't work for me. And if I learn anything additional, that will be a new video topic that I will definitely share the information. And the best way to communicate with Seller Central is to always include the batch ID from the Add Products via Upload page and then the Monitor Upload Status tab. If you put that in your explanation, then it will help out the Seller Central rep that you talk to. Another pro tip is ask the Seller Central rep if they are FEEDS, F-E-E-D-S trained, because if they are, they're going to be better able to help you. And if they're not, you're going to be wasting time with them. So ask them if they're FEEDS qualified, and if they're not, ask them to be transferred to someone who is. Lastly, just try to have patience because this process will take every bit of it to navigate through it. And if this video was helpful to you, please like and subscribe. If you have had trouble with your variations, please comment below. And if you were able to get it resolved, please add that to your comments because it will help others. As always, thanks for your time, as I know you could be any other place right now. Take care.